Once upon a time, in the busy city of Owerri, lived a woman whose name was Adoga. Adoga was the kind of woman who wore fear like a jacket, a woman who once threw all her wigs away, all because she watched a video online where a stranger revealed that all wigs were spiritually possessed and manufactured by marine spirits who collected people's destiny strand after strand. The moment Adoga heard this, she jumped out of her skin in terror. She grabbed all 7 of her wigs, bone straight, curly wig, braided one, even the ones that she bought on discount a few days ago. Adoga stuffed them in a black nylon bag and marched straight to the back of her house. With tears in her eyes, she threw the wigs on the floor and drizzled kerosene on them. As she set them ablaze, Adoga watched in terror as the fire engulfed her wigs. All she could think about were marine spirits possessing the wigs, and the thought of this filled her with complete terror. Adoga made up her mind in that moment never to wear wigs again. Her friend Kamsu could not believe it when Adoga narrated how she burnt all her wigs that Adoga spent a fortune to get. In fact, Adoga saved up more than half of her salary to enable her buy the wigs. Kamsu could not understand why she would take such a drastic decision without thinking it through. She confronted Adoga, who sat calmly on her couch, sipping zobo like a woman who had just made the best decision of her life. "Adoga," Kamsu said, placing her hands on her waist, "why would you do something like that now?" Adoga sighed deeply and replied her saying, "Kamsu, the things happening in this world, they are deeper than we can ever imagine. That video opened my eyes to the truth. I refuse to allow marine spirits use my head as a meeting point," she said to Kamsu, who stared at her friend in disbelief as she began to speak. "So Ada, because of one video, one stranger that you don't know from Adam, you decided to burn your wigs?" she said to Adoga, who hissed loudly and replied her saying, "I don't need to know who they are before believing them. This world is such a wicked world, and there is so much evil around. My dear, it is better to avoid and cry had I known later." Kamsu could see the fear in her eyes. She looked at her gently and began to say, "If fear is controlling your actions, then you are doing it wrong. Oh. Fear will always make you do foolish things, but the Spirit of God gives clarity. You are more than a conqueror through Christ, so stop acting like someone who is under attack. You are not under the devil, you are above him, because you are the one with authority," she said to Adoga, who could not shake the fear off her heart. Days passed, and Adoga struggled to maintain her natural hair. She was so used to wearing wigs that she always left her hair in a cornrow. Now, with all her wigs gone, Adoga was forced to move around with her hair. She would spend hours combing and conditioning the hair, and this began to eat into her time every morning. Adoga began to complain about the stress. She spoke to her friend Kamsu, who advised her to visit the salon. "You can style your hair better," she said to Adoga, who began to narrate the story of the evil hairstylist that she saw online. The woman who narrated the story online claimed that her hairdresser used evil combs to steal her customers' glory. Adoga clutched her chest dramatically as she narrated the whole story to her. Kamsu looked at her confused. She tried to make Adoga understand that even if evil hairstylists exist, the power of discernment God has given to us will always alert us of such evil. We should not walk around afraid of every shadow just because evil exists in the world. "Ada," Kamsu said softly, "God gave you discernment, not panic. You can pray and ask him for direction before going anywhere, because fear is not wisdom. It is bondage," she said to Adoga, who shook her head so hard that her hair bounced like angry springs. "Kamsu, you don't understand. What if they use the comb on me? What if they touch my scalp and my style disappears? What if?" Kamsu clapped her hands loudly in frustration. "Ada, stop all this what if before you run mad. What if nothing happens? What if God protects you? What if you are overreacting? You can't allow your whole life to run on fear." But Adoga refused to listen. She continued to soak in every story that she saw online. In fact, Adoga began to live a life of fear. Her subconscious started to see the evil in everything around her. Her perfume, her makeup, lashes, and even the mirror in her room. Adoga burnt all the thrift dresses that she owned after she watched a video of an evil dress that possessed its wearer. She stopped using taxis because a video online revealed how some taxi drivers hypnotize passengers and steal their kidneys. So Adoga began to trek everywhere like a stubborn goat. Rain, she trekked. Sun, she trekked. Flood, she folded her trousers, held her bag over her head, and trekked like Moses crossing the Red Sea. Her fear increased so much that she stopped buying meat at the market, all because she watched a video where a butcher confessed to selling human meat disguised as beef. The moment she saw it, she spat out the suya that she was chewing and screamed the blood of Jesus. "I have eaten somebody's uncle," she continued to say as she threw up all that she had eaten. From that day on, Adoga refused to enter the meat section of the market. Whenever she walked past there, she accused the butchers of being evil, trying to convince people not to buy their meat. However, everyone looked at her as mad, including the meat sellers, who stared at her like a confused goat, staring at an incoming trailer. Her neighbors began to notice her strange behavior. They watched in terror as Adoga smashed all the mirrors that she had in her home. After watching a video where mirrors were revealed to be spiritual portals that evil spirits use to watch people, Adoga broke the mirror in her bedroom. She then walked to her hallway and smashed the one that she had on her wall. Adoga then grabbed her handbag and smashed the tiny compact mirror that she kept inside her makeup purse. She marched around the house like a soldier, one that was on a mission, smashing mirrors and rebuking the demons that she believed came from the mirrors. Hours later, her friend Kamso arrived at the house and met everywhere shattered with glass. She opened her eyes in terror, wondering what could have happened when Adoga strolled casually to meet with her. "Were you robbed?" Kamso asked as she panicked and looked at her friend, who smiled and revealed to her that she had finally defeated the devil. Kamso could not hide her confusion. She stood there and listened as Adoga narrated the reason why she smashed all the mirrors in her house. Kamso could not believe her ears. She pulled her friend gently to the side and looked her right in the eyes as she began to speak calmly. "Ada, did you just break all your mirrors because of a video you saw online?" she asked Adoga, who nodded her head and began to speak. "Yes, so I watched a testimony last night. A woman said mirrors are portals, that demons use them to watch people. So I destroyed every one of them. Let them try me now. Let them shoot their face again. I'm ready for them." She raised her broom in the air as if challenging invisible forces. Kamso blinked, then blinked again. Her spirit left her body for just 1 second and came back. "Ada, so you mean to tell me that you turned your entire house upside down because of just one video?" Adoga hissed loudly as she began to yell angrily. "And so, you think the devil will come down and introduce himself to you before he attacks you? Kamso, open your eyes. The world is very deep." Kamso dragged her palm down her face in frustration. "Ada, this is madness. You cannot continue like this. Every day is one fear after another. First wigs, now mirrors. Tomorrow, what next? Will you burn your entire house down because you saw a video online about an evil house?" Adoga gasped dramatically. Now, how can I burn down my own house?" "Ada," Kamso said as she urged her to sit down. "Adoga, you are my friend and I will always tell you the truth. As it stands now, you have gradually crossed the line between fear and madness." Adoga's eyes widened. "Kamso, don't say that now. I'm only protecting myself." "Protecting yourself?" Kamso snapped. "Ada, look at you. Look at your life. Look at this house. You have turned your home into a spiritual crime scene." Adoga swallowed hard. "But Kamso, I'm scared. I don't feel safe. Every video I watch shows a new evil. Every story warns of danger. I don't want to fall victim to any of these now." Kamso softened immediately. She sat next to Adoga, gently holding her hand as they trembled. "Ada, fear has captured you. Fear has chained you. Fear has blinded you. And fear will destroy your life if you allow it to." Adoga's lips trembled. "But Kamso, what if the videos are true?" Kamso shook her head slowly. "Ada, listen to me. Yes, evil exists too. Yes, there are wicked people in this world, but God did not give us the spirit of fear. He gave you power, love, and a sound mind. What you are doing right now is not sound. It is not wisdom. It's bondage. Instead of trembling at every story you come across, what you should pray for instead is the spirit of discernment. Let me tell you a story of something that happened to my mother so many years ago. Maybe then you will understand why discernment is more powerful than fear." Adoga wiped her tears and leaned forward slowly, curiosity forcing its way past her fear as Kamso began to speak. Many years ago, before my mother conceived me, she struggled to have a child. She waited for over 10 years, praying and hoping to God to give her a child. One day, while she was returning from the market, a young man approached her and said that the person responsible for her barrenness was closer than she thought. "Auntie," he whispered, looking over his shoulder, "do not go home tonight. Evil looms in the shadows. If you sleep under that roof, something terrible will happen." Kamso's mother froze. Before she could speak, the young man continued, "And don't tell anyone I told you this, not even your husband. He must not know where you sleep tonight. If he asks you anything, lie. I will explain everything tomorrow." He slipped a tiny piece of paper into her hand with an address scribbled on it. "Come and find me tomorrow morning," he said. "We must talk. Your life depends on it." Terrified and shaking, Kamso's mother ran straight to her sister's house and slept there without telling a soul where she was, not even her loving husband, who spent the entire night searching for her like a madman. The next morning, she followed the address. The place shocked her to her bones. It was a small dusty house with peeling paint and a wooden door hanging by its hinges. She knocked gently, her heart pounding. The young man opened the door with a sinister smile. "Auntie, you came," he said as she walked inside, her body trembling. What he told her next shattered her completely. The young man leaned closer as he began to whisper, "Your husband is the reason you cannot conceive. He belongs to a cult and he has exchanged your womb for power." Kamso's mother screamed as her chest began to tighten. She staggered back in fear as the man continued to speak. "Until you leave that man, you will never have a child." Kamso's mother burst into tears. "But he's such a good man. Why would he ever do something like that to me?" "Good?" The man scoffed. "That's how they behave. Wolves in sheep clothing. Auntie, you need to run before it's too late." Every word stabbed her heart. She left the house that day broken, terrified and confused, and slowly she began to treat her husband differently. Every time he attempted to hug her, she stiffened. Every time he prayed aloud, she flinched. If he smiled, she wondered what wicked plan he was hiding. Fear began to eat deep into her soul as the young man kept giving her revelations as well as instructions on what to do. "Don't sleep on the same bed with him. Don't eat his food. He wants to destroy you. He's monitoring your movements," and each visit ended the same way, with her giving him money, 1,000, 5,000, and even 10,000, until she became drained emotionally and financially. One day, he said something to her that changed everything. "Auntie, it's time to leave that marriage." Kamso's mother nodded slowly, believing that she had no other choice. Her plan was to leave him by the end of the next week, when she knew he would be away for his business trip. She didn't tell anyone about her plans, as she continued to live in her home terrified of her husband. One night, she walked into the bedroom and found her husband holding her panties in his hand. The moment he saw her, he jolted in surprise and hid it behind him, stuttering, "Ah, Nne, it was just, But Kamso's mother did not hear anything else. Her ears began to ring, her heart began to pound, her legs trembled as fear consumed her like wildfire. The prophet's words returned to her mind like a curse. "He's the one behind your barrenness. He belongs to a cult. He needs a personal item from you. He wants to destroy your destiny." Her breath caught in her throat. She screamed and rushed towards him like a mad woman, snatching the panties from his hand with trembling fingers. "Don't touch my things again," she cried as she held the panties to her chest like it was made of gold. Her husband's mouth fell open in shock. "Chioma, what is going on? Why are you behaving like this? It's not what you think." But she did not allow him to speak. "Don't talk to me," she shouted with tears blurring her vision. "Don't come near me." And in that moment, fear gave her strength that she did not know she possessed. She dragged her big box from under the bed, stuffed in her clothes, wrapper, underwear, everything her shaking hands could pack. Her husband watched in confusion, calling her name over and over again, but she didn't stop. She dragged the box out of the bedroom and dumped it in the spare room. Then she locked the door from inside, panting, sweating, crying and shaking all at once. That night she slept alone, cold, broken, shaking in fear of the man who had never raised his voice at her. And as she lay there staring at the ceiling, one thought echoed in her mind. The prophet was right. My husband is dangerous. Instead of calming her fears, The panties incident magnified them. She became convinced that leaving him was the only thing that would save her life. So the next morning, she did not greet him. She did not cook. She did not even answer his questions. Every word he spoke sounded like a threat to her. The love she once had for him had been crushed under the weight of fear. Chioma could not wait to finally leave. The young man had told her to plan her escape whenever her husband was not around, or else he would send monitoring spirits to monitor her and know where she was going. Terrified of what he could do to her, she decided to run away when he was out of state for his business trip. Days later, after the Sunday service, Chioma was about leaving the church when the pastor called her aside and asked to talk to her. "My daughter, how have you been doing?" he asked tenderly as Chioma first resisted. She smiled, unsure of if to tell him what was happening or not, but something deep within her soul began to nudge her to speak. So Chioma told him everything, from how she met the strange man and all the terrifying things he told her about her husband. The pastor listened patiently. Then he looked her straight in the eyes and said, "My daughter, pray tonight. Ask God for revelation. Ask God to expose the truth. Not fear, not rumors, not strangers, but the truth." Chioma went home and did exactly as he said. She prayed with tears streaming down her face. "God, show me the truth. Let me see what is really going on. Give me discernment to make the right decision," she prayed as she went to bed. That night, she slept peacefully for the very first time in years. Although there was no dream or revelation by morning, Chioma felt a peace that she could not explain. She decided to pay her closest friend a visit, the one who she told everything. However, the moment she walked towards her house, she froze in complete shock. Chioma saw the young man who spoke to her about her husband sitting in her friend's living room, both of them discussing quietly. Chioma hid behind the window as her heart hammered against her chest. She listened. Their voices stung like blades. "So Chioma is finally ready to leave that her husband," her best friend said wickedly as she began to speak. "Once she leaves him, my own plan will begin. I've had my eyes on that man from the very beginning." The fake prophet laughed. "And after she leaves him, she will keep coming to me for deliverance until she's completely drained of cash." Kamso's mother felt her knees weaken as she listened to all that her best friend had to say. Imagine the fool. So she thinks she will remain happily married while I sit here single with no hope of ever finding love? How foolish can she be to think I will let her have a child before me? Chioma's hand flew to her mouth as she gasped sharply, tears instantly flooding her eyes. Her best friend continued, venom dripping from her words. "She is so naive. As long as I live, she will never conceive. I have already taken care of that. And once her marriage scatters, I will finally have the chance to take what belongs to me." She laughed wickedly, tossing her hair proudly. The fake prophet smirked. "You women safe. Don't worry. She believes everything I tell her. I even told her yesterday that her husband is monitoring her. She is so scared that she can hardly breathe. Just a little more pressure and she'll walk out of that marriage herself." Chioma clutched her chest as though her heart had been stabbed. Her mouth quivered as her knees buckled beneath her. She wanted to scream, faint, burst into the room and tear down the two of them. But shock glued her feet to the floor. Her best friend, the woman who held her hands and prayed for her when she cried, the woman who she trusted with all of her secrets, was the very woman who was out to destroy her. The betrayal sank deeper into her bones. Chioma stood there and listened as the young man continued to speak. "You need to be ready. Once she leaves the marriage, you're going to act like you're the supportive friend. That way, her husband will lean on to you for comfort. Trust me, men are very easy to manipulate when they're heartbroken." Chioma felt her vision blur. Her best friend giggled like a child receiving candy. "I'm ready." Once she leaves him, he becomes mine. A hot tear rolled down Chioma's cheeks. Suddenly, as if pushed by divine strength, she stormed into the living room and confronted them. "I trusted you, Nenye. I confided in you, cried in your arms, told you everything about my life. And all along, you were the devil in my life. You were the one blocking my womb." Her friend's mouth hung open as her entire body began to tremble. The fake prophet stepped forward, attempting to regain control. "Auntie, calm down. It's not what you think." Chioma flung her hand at him as if he was a disease. "Don't call me auntie. Liar! You thief! You agent of destruction! How dare you! Her best friend Nenye tried to speak, but Chioma charged towards her like a storm. I cooked for you, Nenye. I prayed with you. I welcomed you into my home. And you repay me by trying to scatter my marriage? Her friend began to cry fake tears. It's not like that, Chioma. It's the devil. Shut up! Chioma said angrily as she continued to speak. I prayed last night. I asked God to reveal the truth, and he did. He opened my eyes. He exposed both of you. Her friend collapsed into the chair shaking. Chioma turned to the fake prophet and pointed at him. I'll report you. I will expose you for the world to see. The man attempted to run, but ended up tripping over a stool, falling flat on his face. Chioma did not care. She stormed out of the house like a victorious warrior, returning from battle. Her tears rolled freely, but they were no longer tears of fear. They were tears of freedom, tears of revelation, tears of deliverance. She marched straight home, burst into the sitting room and collapsed into her husband's arms. Chioma held her husband tightly as she began to cry. Chioma, what happened? He asked as Chioma narrated the whole story to him. She apologized to him for all that she did, as her husband also burst out in tears. He narrated how he tried to introduce more spark in their marriage, following her coldness towards him. So, he picked up one of her panties, hoping to use it to buy her more panties that she would love. However, Chioma walked in on him and misunderstood everything. Her heart broke to finally hear the truth. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, she cried. I let fear destroy my mind. I let strangers come between us. Her husband pulled her into a tight embrace as both of them cried into each other's shoulders. As Kamso finished the story, Adoga sat frozen, her mouth slightly open, her eyes swollen with tears. The house was silent. Not a single sound. Not a breath. Not even the ticking clock dared to interrupt. Adoga finally whispered, So if your mother had listened to her, she would have destroyed her marriage with her own hands? Kamso nodded. Yes, fear almost ruined her life. Fear almost made her run from the very man God sent to love and protect her. Fear blinded her, but prayer opened her eyes. Discernment saved her. Adoga swallowed hard as her eyes darted around her house to realize what fear was making her do. She sat there quietly as Kamso held her hands and began to speak. Ada, fear has taken root in your life, but you cannot put it. God did not give you the spirit of fear, but of a sound mind. Fear is loud, but God's voice is gentle. You need to stop running from shadows and start standing on the truth. Adoga exhaled deeply, the kind of exhale that comes from a soul that has finally realized it has been carrying chains. So what do I do now? She asked as Kamso smiled sweetly. Pray. Ask God for discernment. Ask him to guide your heart. Ask him to silence every voice that is not his. Fear will destroy you, but discernment will save you. Most of these videos you see online are enlightening you of the evil that exists in the world. However, their aim is not to make you afraid, but to make you aware. Awareness guides you, but fear blinds you. Adoga bowed her head as tears dropped on her lap, finally understanding how close she had come to ruining her life. She squeezed Kamso's hands and whispered, No more. I refuse to live like a prisoner. That evening, Adoga prayed for the first time in weeks, not out of fear, but out of clarity. And as she prayed, a strange peace settled in her heart. And from that day onward, Adoga stopped running from shadows and began walking in wisdom, not terrified by the evil in the world, but guided by the God who protects her through it. The lesson to be learned from this story is that fear is a thief. It steals peace, destroys relationships, and blinds the heart from seeing the truth. Yes, evil exists, but God did not call us to live our lives trembling at every shadow that we come across. He gave us discernment, wisdom, and authority. When we let fear guide us, we make dangerous decisions, but when we let God lead us, He exposes everything and protects us from hidden traps. Always remember that God is greater than anything that threatens to shake you.